so high I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through.
Whenever you're ready, Dan.
We're good.
All right. Good afternoon, or good evening, I should say.
It's afternoon as well.
It sure is. But welcome to our town hall. I've got a ton of articles I want to go through tonight, so that'll be the primary focus of this evening. With it being the holidays, I don't think we're expecting anything major from the FAA at this point to roll through. I think a lot of that stuff's been done and postponed until anything else postponed until later. But I do have some interesting news coming out of the EU and the UK. So let me get my stuff going here.
And of course, if anybody watching this has any questions, put them in the chat and we'll try to get to them as soon as we can.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan. All right. Once this boots up here. All right. So first and foremost, certificate and remote ID is now going to be required to fly drones in the EU.
Copycats.
I know, right? So starting January 1st, 2024, new requirements in the European Union will come into effect, reshaping how small drones may be operated in the region. According to the European Union's Aviation Safety Agency, EASA, with limited exceptions, even small drone pilots will require a certificate and registration, and drones will must be equipped with a remote identification system. So I'm not going to go super in depth just because I've got so much to cover, but as of right now, drones from 900 grams in takeoff mass, which would be Category 1 through Category 6, are already equipped with remote ID systems. But the new change will affect anything up to, or down to, I should say, 250 grams. So anything less than 250 grams will be required to follow these new regulations in the European Union. Guys, we're sorry. We've said before that U.S. regulation tends to roll out across the world, and here's your evidence of that. So, but I do believe that the EU's solution is exactly the same as the U.S. is, which would be Bluetooth. Hopefully I'm not talking on something I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time focusing on Europe on regulations, but Lucas Burchell is notated down at the bottom here talking about the capability or the needs for remote ID, and drone tag seems to be obviously one of the solutions there. So these are going to be direct RID modules / remote ID built in. It's very similar to what we've got going on in the US.
If I remember right, one of their rules that's really terrible is that if you have a camera, you need remote ID no matter what size it is. Even if it was like a 1 gram drone and it had a camera.
Well, let's see here. Privately built legacy, takeoff less than, let's see.
Pretty sure there's something about whether or not you have a camera on board.
You might be correct. I'm not 100%, but yeah, definitely.
I know down near the bottom of your screen, it talking about drone weighed less than 250 grams and has no camera or other sensor capable of detect personal data. It might not be the camera itself, but personal data.
Well, if I have a Wi-Fi reader on there, I could collect personal data with that.
Yeah, I think that would then be, you would have to have remote ID on it.
So, yeah, definitely Interesting.
Oh, you got a
So,
microphone.
yeah, there you go. Also in European news, the FPV UK.org has published its response to the CAA's consultation on proposals. I think we talked about something about this last time. Um, to make it easier for drone users to fly safely and meet regulatory requirements. So this consultation period goes through 10th of January. It's a very similar process. And I'm just going to pull up, this is their response. Similar kind of document to what we pushed out when we respond to these NPRMs, or notice of proposed rulemakings, that the FAA pushes out. But I'm going to scroll down. It's very long, but they've got remote ID on the page here. So,
Do you agree with the approach to implementing remote ID? I disagree.
yep.
Enough
So,
said.
and their response very similar to what we said. They said remote ID would require a huge investment in infrastructure and systems in the UK. This cost would no doubt be passed on to UAS operators in one way or another, perhaps through the registration fee. It would also require significant investment from drone manufacturers. And finally, it would involve very significant and disproportionate cost to operators of legacy drones and potential model aircraft flyers, too. The fact is that those intent on using a drone for nefarious purposes will not activate remote ID, and they certainly will not retrofit a remote ID module to a legacy drone. It's almost inevitable that any remote ID functionality will be defeated and disabled by hackers, those who like to tinker with how electronic products work. Spoofing could also be employed by those intent on using their drone without being traced, or they could simply build a drone from components. Furthermore, the police already successfully track and trace criminals who use drones using existing detection systems. Likewise, the CAA already has access to this data, which allows it to understand the sector, etc. The proposed network and direct approach is overkill and puts an even greater burden on UAS operators. For example, retrofit remote ID modules, such as those available in the US, work for direct remote ID, but not network. Adding a mobile data connection system and a direct radio system to an existing UAS, for example, a legacy radio controlled aeroplane or helicopter, is complex and disproportionate. So that smacks of a lot of things that we talked about in our response, and a lot of things that have come up here in the US. So more power to FPV UK for lessons learned, right? So hopefully this helps you guys. Hopefully this works. And for those of you, and I do know we do have some folks that keep tabs on what we're doing over there. Their process is similar to ours, in which you can utilize the document. However, you must complete the response if you're going to submit one in your own words. So for the betterment of you guys, and hopefully this works out for you guys. Get your responses in if you're in the UK. So, and then just a follow up to this, and I don't know enough about, and I'm not going to claim to know enough about the remote ID proposals, because I honestly didn't go through everything. I just wanted to see what their response was. So it seems that rumors of Home Office having a keen interest in the UK remote ID system to be delivered by the CAA. It comes across on examining documents from the Home Office and the Ministry of Defense's Defense Science and Technology Laboratory that the agencies are trying to pull a fast one on the UK drone community. Given the CAA can't say who they expect to foot the bill for remote ID, it's likely the Ministry of Defense are going to see civilians foot the bill for the rollout of tech that was developed for the battlefield called Sapient. The Home Office have applied pressure to the CAA consultation with a regurgitated bringing up of Gatwick's 2018, which was BS. I'm just going to throw that out there, along with some drama queen police call statistics. That's awesome. Sapient is a Ministry of Defense developed control protocol, and it's become a standard for counter UAS in the UK. It's meant to integrate AI and sensors, and it can control CCTV sensors such as radar and effectors such as jammers. The protocol itself can be used to identify and classify not only drones but people from male from female, and a weapon from a camera or microphone. Egos being as they are in the policy and legislation lead for the NPCC has put his work with remote ID and the CAA on LinkedIn. DSSI News has reported that the Defense Science and Technology Laboratory has been working with the NPCC to deliver a Sapient-based system that benefits Ministry of Defense's procurement activities. So I don't know if the UK is planning a remote ID solution based on the Sapient. That's what it seems like, which to me would significantly add cost to the end users. And then having them kind of foot this bill, I'm not, I don't know enough about the politics over there, but it seems a little out of whack for sure. I mean, at least here in the U.S., we had people take on those development, that chose to do so. The development of the remote ID broadcast modules and whatnot. But if it's being pushed and then integrated into cost down to end users and pilots, that's a bad deal.
Well, in a way, we're paying the cost as well, because somebody designs and develops a remote ID module. We have to buy it and increase the cost of our drones. So
Well,
footing the
yeah,
bill
yes
for
and
that.
no. I mean, the concern here is that this would get incorporated into the registration fees to the UK government. That similar to us going to Drone Zone and registering for $5. I believe their bill right now is going up to £12 and like 16 pence, and that's annually that they have to pay.
Yeah, I think the big cost is what they're talking about in the infrastructure, in as much as they're pushing the notion of network remote ID. And I think that's where the huge costs in the US will be as well when they go for unmanned traffic management.
Yep. So definitely interesting. So just wanted to touch base as some of the things that we've been dealing with for the last little bit are rolling out across the globe. And again, sorry guys.
Well, slightly related to that, Morton Upshot's mentioning in YouTube that there's a Texas county that is trying to limit anything with a camera. So similar to the EU's bills about blocking anything with a camera or needing remote ID. I don't know if we have any more.
To add phones to that too.
Yeah. I don't know if we have any more information on that, or if that's something anybody can help fight, or if we should make that more public.
I mean that would
point
that would
people to
definitely
it,
be
but
that would be definitely something to forward on to possibly Vic Moss and crew, to see what we can accomplish there. But yeah, that's a hot mess. But I mean, Texas is going for cessation at this point, so there's that.
Remember, cessation, they're the only state in the union that can legally secede.
Yeah, and that's up on their ballot in March, I think. So, all right, enough smack talk. So Amazon drone delivery executive who oversaw safety and FAA relations has departed. So Sean Cassidy, who served as the drone delivery unit's head of safety, flight operations, and regulatory affairs, has departed the company. Cassidy was Amazon's primary liaison with the FAA as it worked to get the necessary regulatory approvals to expand the program. Amazon's drone delivery was hit hard by layoffs earlier this year and has been beset by regulatory setbacks. And the program cleared a key regulatory hurdle in October. However, when the FAA loosened restrictions on how and where its drones can fly. I think this is the third key executive from Prime Air that has exited the company this year.
Did it say where Sean's going?
No, it didn't. Yeah, so he is former Alaska Airlines pilot and vice president of the world's largest pilots union. So, yeah, but there's a one of the things that I brought up. If you can, this is on CNBC. There's, and I'm not going to go into it, but there's a 20-minute long video here on kind of uh, the evolution of Amazon Prime Air, and they talk about some of the other companies who are succeeding at this, notably Drone Up and Zipline. So probably worth a watch. I got through, as you can see, the first 2 minutes and some change on it, but I plan to put it on my watch list for later this evening. Yeah, so the beginning talks about how they started rolling out Prime Air in a couple locations, and one location still hasn't seen actual drone deliveries happening yet. So
Yeah, their layoffs were, as you said, were material. It was enormous. It was 80% of the U.S. staff, and that's what we also saw the entire
UK staff.
UK. I think Isla White, if I recall correctly. And so and that's very, very difficult to lay a whole organization off in the UK.
Yeah. So definitely interesting. Remains to be seen how Amazon comes out of this, or if they just move on. I mean, they've been pushing this for a minute, and maybe take some notes from those who are winning in this field. So, all right.
Sean,
speaking of, what's that?
I was gonna say, Sean hasn't updated his LinkedIn with anything yet, so.
All right. Well,
still shows Amazon.
Best to him. I'm sure that was definitely a challenging and rewarding position, but we'll look to see where he goes next. So speaking of Drone Up, they are delivering donations for a holiday food drive. This is super cool. So Drone Up, for those who don't know, like Zipline, are partnered with Walmart. And they've been executing drone deliveries in several locations around the country, including here in Arizona. But they are using, they're calling it Drone It Forward, and the food drive uses drones to deliver Walmart purchases to participating partners. In Virginia Beach, the group is working with St. Michael's Lutheran Church at 2208 Princess Anne Road to donate food. Residents can visit droneupdelivery.com and purchase non-perishable food items. Then they can enter the location of the church in the delivery field during the length of the food drive, which runs all the way through December 31st. Drone Up is waiving all delivery fees. So if you, a little bit of drones for good, want to make a donation of some food, they'll get it delivered. The food drive program is also operating here in Arizona, Florida, Texas, and Utah. So all the locations that Drone Up is currently operating in. So this is awesome. A company that's able to give back like that and really be a drones for good kind of story. So more power to them, and hope they keep pushing that. So. All right. As predicted, the FAA has launched the safety campaign, the 12 Days of Drones safety campaign for the holiday period. So
it doesn't look very safe in that first picture.
Probably not there's a little bit of prop safety.
At least the blood blends in.
Yeah, you won't see it in the suit.
So has launched a campaign for the safe use of drones over the holiday period called the 12 Days of Drone. The campaign will release specific drone safety topics to educate people about the rules, regulations, and best practices of operating a drone. From December 7th.
What about the worst practices? I want to know what not to do.
Well, they do cover that, and we'll get there, Alex. Hold on. Let's see. Each day we'll have a different topic. So the topics up to date are trust, the recreational UAS safety test, register and mark your drone was the 8th. The 11th is remote ID. The 12th is become a certified remote pilot. And today's was where can I fly? So they're and then they have upcoming ones on Lance, weather, flying at night, drones are for everyone, flying over people, drones and careers, and drones for good. Happy to see drones for good. Happy to see drones and careers in there. I'm interested to see what they talk about on flying at night, just because of some confusion that can erupt from that. But they did release this short little video. I thought I had it. Yeah, here we go. So I'm going to play this real quick. This is kind of.
If there's any audio, we don't get it, but that's
It's
right.
just really annoying Christmas bells. So flying your drone at or below 400 feet. Keeping your drone within line of sight. Now, I'm going to pause it real quick. Let's go back to this one. Flying your drone at or below 400 feet. This is in Class G airspace. So definitely not clear there. And I know they're just trying to get some quick points out here, but still.
When your regulations are so difficult to understand and follow that you can't put them into an easy presentation, then maybe there's something wrong.
Yeah. Make sure your drone is equipped with a remote ID. If
I'm flying out of FRIA.
Exactly.
Or
That,
inside.
and if it's under 250 grams, so obviously this is a big don't fly near other aircraft.
Unless you're racing with other racers.
Or doing synchronized
Sorry.
flying.
We're
just picking apart every one of their little bits of
it's
information here.
it's kind of just what we do, right? So it looks like the FAA is resorting back to, at least according to this, is resorting back to calling us pilots and not operators. So we go back and forth with this.
I feel like they did that around this time last year too. Some similar messaging.
So,
similar campaign.
But
well, they didn't have a grammarian edit it. They called it stadiums.
Yep.
Nice.
So this is from their actual page here, the 12 days of safety. And so they'll be updating stuff on Twitter and Facebook. So I do have a couple of Twitter drops here. So we've got, they're talking here about safety tips. This is the beginning, and then it just goes on in the thread, how to get your remote pilot certified, where can you fly. This is great to follow if you want to kind of get some information. They do talk about compliance with a remote ID and different circumstances in which enforcement doesn't come up. So they've got some good stuff here. They've got
there's
Kevin Morris here. Yep. So so a couple different things going on.
Andy Platter's commenting that we're pilots when we're responsible and under the regs, operators when they want us to seem unqualified. Yeah, sometimes you're a pilot, sometimes you're not. It depends what they want people to think about you.
Yeah, exactly. This one I brought up for Alex specifically. So I have not checked this out. I just got the email. But the Air Up There podcast, which is the FAA's podcast, is talking about drone racing with the chief COO of DRL. So probably definitely worth a listen. It's good to see acknowledgement of some of the hobbyist activities around UAS and drones from the FAA. So probably moving in a decent direction from that aspect. So, but I think I moved through those fairly quick. What's that?
I'm surprised with DRL doing outreach communication like that. because it seems like DRL has been going on the downward trend lately.
I thought they laid everybody off that was responsible for like outreach and communication. Maybe those were the ones that were
Yeah.
still left. I
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah,
But-
that is puzzling because they're approaching chapter 11, right, or 13.
I don't know what it is, but I
Yeah.
just know that they've had some troubles lately.
Yeah. Well, I would say that's pretty standard across the board, right now. So we'll see if hopefully the organization can survive. I think they've done some good things for drone racing in terms of visibility and whatnot. But yeah, so. But yeah, I think with that's all I have for this evening. I moved through those a little quicker. Maybe I should have grabbed a couple others.
I had just a couple. Just very quick updates. The new DAC, the Drone Advisory Council. So this is the group that we are forming along with John Hagrains, the CEO of Aloft, and let's see, Pilot Institute, as well as Drone Service DSPA, Drone Service Provider Alliance, and a number of other great folks. So we in fact have another meeting tomorrow, and we're working on a standard remote ID tasking. And Greg Revendu, founder of Pilot Institute, and I are co-chairing that activity. So that's happening. Also, I need to ask some. We're not involved in this one, but the small UAS mitigation ARC, the Aviation Rulemaking Committee, should be wrapping up. We'll see if they got an extension. Try to find out. I know we know some of the folks who are involved in that. That was UAS mitigation is the euphemistic way to describe counter UAS. So there's an ARC going on this year on that. And we also have, I think, one request for comments that we will probably file prior to January 6th. And that's all I had.
All right. Cool. Alex, anything from you?
I
What's
have
going on?
my map released.
All right, let's see what you
Share
got.
Show us the latest
Yeah.
version.
Alrighty, so guessing you guys can all see the page here.
Yes,
So
sir.
if you go to www.friamap.com, you get this lovely website that was put together in about 24 hours. So you get so part of here is just the image of what the overall map looks like, little information about the map, of what it covers, how accurate it is, that kind of stuff, and then different organizations that endorse it. So if we open up the map, does it? All right, switch to this tab instead. We can
Woo-hoo.
see we have around 1,301 FRIAs as of.
So it's
when I
already
data.
you've already demonstrating an enhancement over the FAA UAS facility map, and that
Good
is that
zoom.
it has not crashed yet.
And it has
Well, it's
FRIAs
still-
on it.
It has
It's
FRIAs
still
on
using
it.
the-
A second excellent attribute.
It's still using the same software that the FAA is using.
And the GIS
Yep,
software
ArcGIS.
that they're using.
Correct.
Great.
So with this map, you can see we have the little legend here. So FPVFC FRIAs are in green,
Great.
TCA in orange, STEM plus C in red. They're on the West Coast, and then AMA in blue. We have FRIA boundaries in yellow. So there are boundaries for 3 out of 4 CVOs. AMA would not give me the boundary information, so I had to use the GPS location for the field that they said was approved. So some of those GPS coordinates may or may not be at those AMA fields. They might be close to it. You'll just have to look up the club name. It's just a relative location for AMA. But STEM plus C, TCA, and FPVFC, all of theirs are correct. I can zoom into the FRIA that I got for my school through FPVFC, The yellow boundary is showing the boundary coordinates, and those are the exact GPS boundaries from the FPVFC applications. And then you can click on it to say, oh, that's at York College, and get a GPS coordinate of the center there.
Great.
Nice.
And Alex, you're being modest. You said what the overall website took less than 24 hours, and this is your work, and it took. We're all aware that this took a lot more than 24 hours to put this together. So thank you for doing this, and thanks to those of us sponsoring this. I
And
think it's great.
Yet you, as one person, were able to pull off what the FAA still couldn't do.
So this is an AMA field.
There you go. There's the point. Yeah.
I know one person who was showing this to said that their AMA field was like a half mile down the road from where the pin was, but I don't care enough to fix that, especially since the AMA didn't give me their data directly. So
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate that they didn't want to share that. Hope
Yeah.
maybe after they see how effective this is,
Well, there's an
they'll have
example.
a change. They'll have a change of heart.
that's a
Center
circle
The
and
stem
FRIA.
C, right?
Yes,
Point
that's
and
a
radius.
STEM
Yeah.
circle FRIA.
Yeah.
There's a couple of those from FTCA actually. I'd say at least half of the 30 FTCA FRIAs are center and radius.
Interesting.
So like FPVFC FRIAs, they're mostly on the East Coast, but
Mhm.
that's mostly because. But I think that's because I've applied for these, and then Dan got these. I think Dave's waiting for some over here.
Yeah, I have. It's only been 6 or 7 months since my 3 have been applied. So
I'd double check on that because at least double check to see if it's under review.
Yeah, they
Right.
were under review as of November, so I should check
Oh,
again.
okay. And then
So at least they
these
didn't get
FTC
totally lost like your other stuff has.
That's correct.
There's 3 in Alaska, 2 in Hawaii, 3 in Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
Cool.
There are 30 FTCA FRIAs, 9 FPVFC, 6 or 7 STEM plus C, and 1,256 of AMAs.
I really thought
So at this point,
FTCA was
we're-
going to have more, but maybe they had a lot rejected or are still working on getting approval.
Yeah. And at this point, we're at third capacity according to the FAA, right?
That's correct. Yeah, their target is
Yeah.
4,000, and so it is. That's a pretty sad statement. Just to reiterate what we've put forward multiple times. If you take the number of small UAS recreational operators divided by 20, so you'd say 1 FRIA for every 20 operators / pilot. That would equate to 79,000 FRIAs, and the FAA is targeting 4,000.
And I'm sure all
obviously,
the rest of the operators are going to fly with remote ID, so they don't
That's
need a
right.
FRIA.
Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely. No need for the FRIAs. And of course, the AMA has 2,600 fields, and they're confident that they'll get all of those in for submission. And sounds like the FAA is doing a great job of prioritizing the AMA over lots of other applications.
Yep. Can you zoom out to just mainland U.S.?
I can, but I wanted to point something out first.
Oh, go for it.
The Edgewater Golf Course.
Yeah.
So this is Edgewater where flight test is, and this is the only part that the FAA approved. That's the whole place.
Right.
That's all they approved. And
Right.
that's also part of it. I'm guessing because of that building and that building that they wouldn't
That's
do
correct.
that.
Yeah. It took a number of iterations to get that approved, and happily, Fury Field, which is the location, there
Right
you go.
here.
Thank you very
And
much.
that should be for
That's the
Flight Fest.
location of Flight Fest 2024.
So the interesting part about this is you can kind of tell, the FRIAs are pretty much in accordance with population density, right? So
Yes.
East Coast, West Coast, and kind of North Midwest there are definitely the gist of where everybody is located in the United States, and the middle from basically Nevada on over to probably Kansas is pretty coincidental with population density in the U.S. So good to see that the distribution is shaping up correctly, but definitely would like to see more. So Alex, are you doing anything to maintain this, or is this a standing map for now?
I may maintain it. I may not maintain it. I don't know yet.
So,
We'll
but
see.
it's a good step in identifying, and it's a good proof of concept for what this should
It's
look
a
like for
start
the
for
FAA, right?
people, so
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be maintained. I might maintain it. I might add if people have educational institution FRIAs, I might add those since those aren't on this list currently. Because it's
And
only CBO FRIAs. I
FRIAs
probably
have to
won't. What?
FRIAs have to be renewed every 4 years. Is that correct?
I believe so.
So this has a longevity of at least that long.
Correct. I'd say
So-
3.5 because I think the first couple were approved in July.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep, it's great.
safer to say 3.5 years for longevity for this because I don't know which ones were approved. I didn't add which ones were approved when because that was be way too many data points to add that information to because I'd have to copy and paste that individually or type it individually, which I didn't want to do.
So you're saying that an API or an SDK might be a really useful thing for the FRIA database?
Probably.
For the inside joke, my tongue is so firmly in my cheek because we've been asking for an API, which exists, but the FAA will not give us access to, and they've just the reason why they don't want to give us access is because they've taken the decision that they don't want to give us access. They did say they did say at one point that it was for security reasons, but we did have a discussion that that's really not a viable response in as much as they have other APIs, notably for trust, where they have handed out cross firewall APIs. So we will continue to pursue that rather.
A couple other things with this is Pennsylvania has the most FRIAs, 104. Some other features with the map that might help you use it is you can set it to find your location, so you can get an estimate of where you are and see, oh, there's a FRIA near me, and be like Frederick Marl Aircraft Club, which is where I fly at when I'm home.
I assume that geolocates your IP address. You're assuming that's
yes.
assuming that's
I don't know
accurate.
what it's doing. I'm not sure what
It's
method they're choosing.
A feature of ArcGIS.
It's just fairly accurate.
Yep, it's just from ArcGIS, so that's what I'm using.
So what's the web address for this?
www.friamap.com. You can also search for places, so whatever address you want to use, you can search for that.
Cool.
If you want to hide AMA FRIAs, you can use that. Do what everything else is like. You could even hide FTCA, STEM+C, or FPVFC and be like, oh, there's no FRIAs.
Right.
Or if you want to just look at
that's
the
interesting.
boundaries.
You still see the boundaries. Okay.
Yep, which you can hide those with that, and now you have nothing. So basically what the FAA has.
Oh, sick burn. That's awesome. Great job, Alex. This is
nice piece of work.
Yep, 100%. So, yeah, definitely cool. All right. Anything else, Alex?
That's all I have.
All right. Dan, anything this evening?
I don't have a whole lot. The little bit of time I've spent lately, I've been playing with. I've got a handful of different remote ID modules like this Holy Stone or the Flight Test Easy ID and a drone tag and one of the new MRID. I forget how they actually would. I guess CB Runner can correct me here. He's in our chat. the Phoenix UAS remote ID module, if that's MRID or MRID. Been playing with that one a
Mr.
little bit.
ID.
Mr. ID. I don't think there's an R in it, but haven't had a whole lot of time to play with it. But my thought is to get more comfortable with them, test them out a bit, maybe throw up something on our website with some quick FAQs about each one and maybe pros and cons of wouldn't you choose one over another and some easy stuff like that. So that's kind of what I'm working on. CB Runner wrote M and then in quotes RID, all caps.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's all I really have. Not a whole lot going on, but I do want to get to a comment here in our YouTube channel. They said, Andy Platter is saying, remote ID seems mostly settled. What's the next negative legislation from FAA coming down the pipe that we need to start watching out for and raising awareness about?
Remote
Also
network remote ID. Yeah, mentioned 5
Remote
times.
ID isn't settled.
Right. Yeah, not at all settled, and it's as I say, 5 mentions in the FAA Reauthorization Act of 2023. If that ever gets passed.
Yeah, right. So yeah, network remote ID is definitely on the table still, guys. It's
Beyond visual line of sight should be or within 4 months, right? Isn't that what they committed to?
Well, I mean, 4 months. Extrapolate that out a little bit. FAA time.
Those are
4 years.
Are those
4
Mars?
years.
Maybe they're Mars months.
Well, we definitely have to
geez.
be on the lookout for whatever happens with the FAA Reauthorization Act, whenever
Yes.
that's
Right.
going to happen, if there's any surprises in there. There were also already things in there that we weren't thrilled about, but definitely a lot of talk about network-based remote ID, like you were just mentioning.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and for those who aren't up to speed on network remote ID, that is basically what that looked like was requiring a data connection, either through cell phone or Wi-Fi, to a source that could then output that information to the world, essentially. And the reason that we were pushed against that was, number one, the cost burden of that on operators. Number two, privacy concerns, and number three, that it negates the ability to fly in areas of the country that are rural and may not have coverage or spotty coverage.
Right.
But eventually, I think the FAA's goal is to get all that consolidated into the UTM, which is the unmanned traffic management system, and so they can track drone use countrywide.
And
at a
also,
moment's
in as much as the new FAA administrator comes from, is it Archer, I believe? So hired the FAA administrator from private sector, and they are the Department of Transportation and the FAA are keenly interested in accelerating the progress on advanced air mobility. Just think air taxi, cargo, and that all requires just what Josh was talking about, the unmanned traffic management. And we anticipate draconian regulations on small UAS under UTM. So that will be bad.
Another
the
thing
funny
to be on the
go ahead,
lookout
Dave.
for is that they're sort of trying to bridge the gap between network remote ID and broadcast remote ID with having companies put up antennas and track all the remote ID broadcast information and then store that and then post it online or sell it to third-party vendors or sell it to the FAA or whatever. There's been a few stories about that kind of stuff going on out there too.
Yeah, definitely, and it's concerning. And again, it's concerning for privacy's sake. And you should be in control of where you're flying, who's around you, what's happening around you. And my concern is for those pilots who are under goggles, who even with a spotter may not be situationally aware enough to mitigate any kind of threat that's around them. So, as well as people knowing where you're flying thousands of dollars of gear, right? So, it's a bad deal all around. But the other interesting thing is we're talking UTM, and the FAA's in a severe shortage of air traffic controllers right now. So we want to add another process when we can't, when we're struggling to meet the needs of the current one. So I don't know. It's just a little.
AI traffic
Yeah,
controllers.
yeah. Let's totally do that.
Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah,
what's
we've
different
had
for
the
me?
we've had the privilege of working with a number of air traffic control union um, members, and they've been fantastic. There's no sarcasm in my voice at all. These folks take their job extraordinarily seriously, as they should. And every time we've worked with them on a DAC or AC tasking, they have contributed a lot. And so their position is they don't want anything to do with small UAS because they have their hands full, and they are short on people. And so it's a reasonable and position to take from their part. The good news is that their union was very supportive of having participation in a number of tasking groups that had not a lot to do with air traffic control, but boy, these folks were incredibly valuable to the effort. So we'll see how that goes as it goes forward.
Absolutely. All right. Any other questions, comments, Dan? Anything for the?
I'm not seeing anything new at the moment.
All right. Anybody else have anything to wrap us up this evening? All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us this evening. Let's
What's
see.
our calendar look like for a couple of
That's
weeks?
exactly what I was checking. So if we do 1-2 weeks from now, it'll be 2 days after Christmas. So we will update y'all on if we decide to do that. I don't want to, take anybody away from their families. Obviously, that's definitely an important period. But we may still do one. We just have to talk internally on what that looks like. So we'll keep you updated on whether or not, and if we do, fantastic. And if not, we'll see you in a couple of weeks after that. So thank you all for joining this evening. We super appreciate the comments and the support. And we'll see you all later.
Great.
Thanks,
very
everybody.
Much. Bye.
Fly so high, I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Flying, get on board. We're soaring on top of the world. Dangerous times, don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight. Love the world, but keep the sky on your mind. Flying, get on board. We're soaring on top of the world. Flying, get on board. We're soaring so high I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Times don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight.